Hey there, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. Pretty much, since I'm getting burned out on newer films, since each time I see a new film, it makes my brain explode like a cork. And I don't really want to do another marathon anytime soon. Just want to do random videos, whether it be reviews of older films or topics like the last video, remakes I enjoy, or this one, my top 10 favorite found footage films. Now, before I get into that, I do have a playlist on my channel where I have the reviews that I've made on found footage movies listed on that playlist. I think it's just called Found Footage Movie Reviews. Just look on my playlist, you'll find it. And the thing with found footage films, there's a lot of bad ones. And some people may ask, well, why don't you do a list of your top 10 worst? Because a lot of them I fucking forget shit. Even though I remember them being horrible, like Alien Origin and Bigfoot County. The thing is, when you have a found footage film that's fucking horrible, you don't forget the shit. And what's funny, the other day I actually went to the video store and I rented, because they were $1 to rent, the last two Paranormal Activity films, and they were shitty. Because I didn't like the first three, but I was thinking of reviewing them, but I didn't know if anyone gave a shit. But hey, if anyone wants me to do a Paranormal Activity marathon, feel free. I'll do like a recap, my thoughts on the first three, and four, the only thing I remember is the Kinect. Then the marked ones and the ghost dimension, just shit. But anyway, get into this video. Found footage films do interest me so much because when they're done poorly, it's so fucking terrible. But when they're done right, I can really get a kick out of them. And for the sake of this video, I'm not going to include a film like Unfriended or Searching, because they're not really found footage. That would be like including Hardcore Henry in there, because again, they're not really found footage films. They're POV movies. So it doesn't really feel... If I included this, I would have to include Searching. I would have to include Hardcore Henry. Those don't really fit. Special mentions would be 84 Charlie MoPic. That's a film I remember enjoying, but I don't have it. I don't even think it was released on DVD. If it was, it's out of print, or good luck trying to find it. But 84 Charlie MoPic, it's a good one where it's a faux documentary made in Vietnam. It's not a horror movie, it's a Vietnam movie. It came out in 1989. And it's about this platoon being on a mission. I did while in Vietnam. 84 Charlie MoPic is a pretty good one. But let's get into the list. It's like 3.5 minutes in. Number 10, I'm going to choose the St. Francisville Experiment. I remember this was released very quickly on the success of the Blair Witch Project, because that was 1999. This came out like 2000. I believe it was Trimark that released this. That's why this DVD is Lionsgate. But the St. Francisville Experiment, it's funny, I forgot I reviewed this, but that's because I reviewed it 8 years ago. Back in 2011, the review's still up on my channel. It's nothing remarkable. I'm sure most people, if they saw it today, they'd be like, what the fuck, Matt, really? But I liked it. I still like it. I remember being a high kick after the Blair Witch Project, trying to find similar movies like this. And I saw this one, I'm like, wow, the ending's not downbeat, which I was surprised by. The four people, the psychic, the ghost hunter, the filmmaker, the historian, they're not the best actors, but I didn't mind them either. Other people minded them more than me. I didn't mind them for who they were. I could deal with them. The house they investigated was a very creepy looking house. I thought it had some really good atmosphere to it. It was definitely a slow burn, and as things kept going, things kept ratcheting up, which I appreciated. It is a low budget film, but For being in the early days of the Blair Witch Project phenomena, I thought this was not that bad of a flick. I know I'm being vague on it, but hey, if you like found footage films, I think it's worth a look. I've seen much worse since then. I think just for the atmosphere of the house and a little bit of the background of the story they give on the house and what happened. Again, I've seen much worse. This is sort of a, I don't know if I'd say nostalgic pick, but I do remember seeing this in 2000 and enjoying it. So, seen Francisville Experiment. Number 9, Chronicle. Written by Max Landis, the son of John Landis, directed by Josh Trank, who would go on to do the Fantastic Four film in 2015, which I didn't mind for what it was. But this one, it's a found footage / superhero movie. These 3 teens, one of them including Michael B. Jordan, who would be in Creed, Creed 2, Black Panther. They find this thing in the ground and they get powers. One of them starts filming their usage of these powers. Of the 3 people, one of them, Dane DeHaan, he's a bit of a disturbed kid because of his background, because of his family, because of his father who's abusive. So he's a bit disturbed. And it does play off like a comic book movie, except this is 3 regular kids and the enjoyment of using these powers, and then the how deadly things can get. This is when Michael B. Jordan I don't hate, and the fact I liked him in this movie. I still like him in this film. I think I wish he was the lead in this movie, to be honest. Michael B. Jordan. But just the roles he's put later, I don't know, just don't care for the characters he's played. But this one I liked. And the lead guy, who's the good guy, he did fine, but if I had my picks, I would pick Michael B. Jordan as the lead for this movie. But I like the usage of how they don't use their powers next. It went at a fast pace. I thought the 3 teens did a good job. I thought for the low budget, the effects work was pretty decent. Kept me interested to see what would happen next, how they use their gifts, and how it's affecting other people's lives, and how it did become this comic book of good versus evil amongst these kids. Thought it was a nice, different take on the found footage genre. That's number 9. Number 8, VHS 2. A sequel that's much better than the first one, because the first one is very horrible shit. The first VHS would be in my top 10 worst found footage films. This one, though, it did things much better. Yeah, better directors. Gareth Evans, who did The Raid. Jason Eisner, who did Hobo with a Shotgun. Eduardo Sanchez, who worked on the Blair Witch Project. I think Greg Hale did as well. Yeah, Adam Wingard, but he did the one that fucking sucked with the eyeball, and he started it. Adam Wingard did, I think he's the one who did the new Blair Witch, which that would be in my top 10 worst. Oh, maybe more I think of, maybe I will do a top 10 worst. Maybe I will. I'll think about it. But, like, that was the worst one. But the others, I thought Eduardo Sanchez, Greg Hale, again, 2 guys who worked on the Blair Witch Project, as they say here, from the directors of. Like, The Raid is great. Hobo with a Shotgun, have some fun with. You're Next, fuck that. Blair Witch Project, love. Which of these do not fit with the other? Which of these is shit? Oh, the You're Next guy, he's shit. Which, You're Next, I wish fucking Goldberg would come in and tackle his ass. Give him a spear and a fucking body slam to hell. But the others, Eduardo Sanchez, Great Hill, they did a zombie one where a guy on a bicycle and his POV, he gets bit, he turned into a zombie, so you see the POV of a zombie through this camera. Thought that was an interesting take on it, interesting take on a zombie movie in that segment. It had a little bit of heart to it at the end, with the zombie committing suicide. Gareth Evans had the craziest batshit one with this cult. I enjoy just how fucking batshit. You know what? If you haven't seen it, I'm not gonna spoil it. It's fucking batshit insane. Where this cult, I forget exactly where they were, location wise, but it's fucking insane. I'll say that. Jason Eisner, the Slumber Party alien abduction, has some fun usage of the found footage. I thought creepy usage of the aliens. It was Jason Eisner makes films that seem colorful. If that makes sense, like look wise, cinematography wise, and it kept me interested, kept me intrigued to see what would happen next. Yeah, the only bad one was Adam Wingard with the fucking eyeball. Take an eyeball, shove it up his ass, so he could see how much he stinks. But definitely a better movie than the first one. In fact, if I could, I would take the Veach's Viral, the third movie. There's one with these skateboarders, which I love, but everyone hates. I would put that and this and instead of the fucking eyeball one, if I had the power. But Veach's 2 is a pretty damn good one. Number 7, Afflicted. Afflicted, definitely an underrated gem. You have this guy, I thought he did a really good job. Derek Lee. He's an Asian guy who has what did he have? He has some type of like tumor. He had some affliction where he didn't know when he would die. It could be any minute now, any day now. So he's like, fuck this. I'm not going to stay here and die. I'm going to see the world and document it. And he does it with his buddy here. So they go off and they do this stuff for YouTube and things of that nature where they're going on this adventure around the world. And then one night, they find him in bed. He's been bitten. And he's like, I don't know what's going on. What the hell's happening? And then he starts getting powers. He's strong. He's fast. Like, wow, look at this. And I'm feeling better. But sunlight, you kind of know where this is going. It's a nice take on the vampire legend. It's a vampire, but yet it's a bit more than that because it's almost like a vampire slash, I don't want to say zombie, but like rabid animal type of vampire, where if you haven't eaten and if you don't decide to eat, you go into a feral stage and you go crazy and insane. And they do some excellent stuff with the POV of the footage. Like there's these battles he has with cops, and he's leaping from the top of the building to the bottom. Like a little bit of a predecessor to Hardcore Henry in a couple of these shots. But again, Hardcore Henry's not really found footage as a POV. This is actual footage of a camera that's being shown. I thought the actors did a good job. I thought they had some good notices of the character. Like there's a moment where he feels he needs to stop himself, so you see him actually shoot himself and blow his brains out, but he can't die. And then there's even a moment where it heals, and there's even a patch of his head still healing. And then he's trying to find the person who bit him to get answers. It's almost as if, you know how there's these TV shows where there's a vampire or someone and they're like a cop, a detective. They become a hero or they become a vigilante. This is almost like a predecessor to that kind of TV show. Because at the end he's like, I can't fix this and I can't die, so he's going to go after, like, at the end, he goes after a guy who's a child molester. Like, that's the kind of people he's going to feed on. So, almost makes me wish we could get Afflicted too. And sad enough, like, these guys did a really good job. Derek Lee and Cliff Prowse, they wrote it, they directed it, and they're both the stars of the film. These two guys here. And they never worked again. This was like back in 2013. 6 years later, they'd never done another movie. They got some good reviews, but that's what sucks about the industry. Guys like this do a great job. Like, look at all the people who do the shitty Paranormal Activity films and they still keep making fucking movies. Goddamn guy who did The Devil Inside, he got to direct another fucking movie. But these guys can't get another shot? When they did great the first time, that's what pisses me off. Like, these guys did such a good job with this. And yeah, the found footage genre, this is an underrated gem, Afflicted. I agree with this. Exciting, expertly done. Not fright. I don't get frightened with movies, so I don't agree with that one. But I do agree with this one from Fred Topol, Crave Online. Yeah, this is a good one. It's a gem. Number 6 would be Cloverfield. I still need to get the Blu-ray of this one day. I saw this in the theater back in the day. I really enjoyed it. Got kicked out of it. It was a nice take on the found footage of doing a big monster movie. I like how you see bits of the monster via the POV of the camera. The cameraman is actually T.J. Miller, who would be in the Deadpool movies. I actually thought he did a better job in this movie as the voice behind the camera. I thought the other actors did fine. Mike Vogel, Lizzie Kaplan. I liked the cast. I thought Matt Reeves did a really good job visually with this film. I mean, this movie is it's over 10 years old. This was 2008. And I thought for the small budget, they pulled off a movie that looked like a blockbuster film. And the stuff where, like, the head of the statue is being thrown down the street, the creatures among the subway, and it gets into people, and explosions in the blood, the destruction of the city and the bridges, the helicopter shooting at the monster. Again, for a low budget, they got a lot of bang for their buck. I like the score at the end of credits. If you listen to the music at the end credits, it sounds like something that would be in a Godzilla film. And dare I say, I like this more than the 2014 Godzilla movie. And I did like the characters in this. I did like the style it was made in. That's why it sucks that the other Cloverfield movies didn't follow this format. I wish it did, because I would like to see more of this creature, and maybe some of these characters survived at the end. But no, we're not going to do that shit. For some reason. But this one I got kicked out of. Now we get to the top 5. Digging Up the Marrow. This is one of the good ones by Adam Green. Adam Green, I don't give a shit about the Hatchet films. I hate them. Hatchet 2, I liked when I first saw it, but because of all the other bullshit, fuck that movie. Because all the films before and after it sucked, and it's like, it has some good gore and fun kills, but it's not enough for me to love those movies. Adam Green, I thought, did a better job in Frozen. Nothing to do with the Disney movie. This is when they're at the ski loft, the ski lift, and 3 people are trapped on there. That's a good one. And this one, which is a fake documentary where Eli Roth. This guy's a better director than Eli Roth, honestly. Adam Green, he wrote and directed this film, and he's the star of the film. He plays himself, and about how he heard about this guy who's sending these pieces of info and pictures and drawings saying, oh, this thing called the Marrow exists and monsters are real, and he decides to do this documentary. Oh, maybe nothing will come of it. Maybe fun to goof off about. I trying to remember his name. Ray Wise plays this guy named William Decker who claims that he can prove monsters are real. I thought Ray Wise did a good job in the role. It has some nice bits of humor. Adam Green's actually a pretty likable guy when he's in front of the camera. He has a nice vibe to him. You have a fun cameo by Kane Hodder, who worked with Adam Green, because Kane Hodder played Victor Crowley. And Adam Green's excited to show Kane Hodder this footage, and Kane Hodder's like, oh, that's great. Who did the effects? And he's like making fun of Adam Green. He's like, no, this is like... it's not scary. I disagree with his review. It's not a scary film. There's nothing scary about this. But I thought it was fun and interesting. I thought the humor worked well. I like the idea of this marrow. When you do see the monsters, it's some pretty decent makeup effects. You see them mainly at the end. The ending I was a bit confused by, but I understood as sort of someone leaves footage to Adam Green to warn them, leave us the fuck alone. That's sort of what I got from the ending. So it's not a downbeat ending, it's not a bullshit ending, it's more like, here, leave us the fuck alone. And here's why you should leave us alone. So, and I thought it was a pretty decent story to boot as well. So, digging up the marrow. I enjoyed this one. I thought it was considering Adam Green, I don't like his Hatchet films at all. I'm like, you know what? He should just do films that's not Hatchet. Because Frozen, this one I liked. Just stay the fuck away from Hatchet films. But then he did a fourth one, Victor Crowley, that I did not see. The fourth one, number 4, is one I've reviewed. And I liked it so much I bought the DVD. I was going to buy the Blu-ray, but it was too expensive. It was like, so I just got the DVD. It exists. To me, one of the best Bigfoot movies out there. And I've reviewed a lot of Bigfoot movies. I have a playlist of that as well. My Bigfoot movie reviews. I reviewed a lot of Bigfoot films. For a nice Bigfoot, Harry and the Hendersons is the best. For a horror Bigfoot, I definitely think this is one of the best, maybe the best. Because I should have known this from the director of the Blair Witch Project. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. Eduardo Sanchez. Because I love Blair Witch Project, which I'll get to that. His 7 VHS2, this one. This guy knows what he's doing. And this one, again, doesn't have the typical ending, which I enjoyed. I thought it had some really good sequences of utilizing the found footage. Like he's looking in, you see the roar of the Bigfoot. A guy's looking at him on this fog, and then the Bigfoot, boom, comes right at him. Oh, shit. There's a guy on a bicycle, and he looks, and he sees the Bigfoot, like, keeping up with him, despite his speed on the bicycle. I'm like, how did they do that shot? And with found footage, one of the things you can do is revealing something. This movie does a good job with that. I thought the actors did fine in their roles. When you find out about the Bigfoot at the end, I'm like, okay, that's a nice touch to it. And I had quite a bit of fun with this flick. Underrated gem. No one ever talks about this film. Got bad reviews. I don't understand why. Probably the only good reviews is the ones you find on this DVD. The look of the Bigfoot is pretty damn good for a low budget. I thought they did a really nice job with the look of the Bigfoot. Actually, Abominable might be my favorite now that I think about it. Between this and Abominable is my 2 favorite, like, serious Bigfoot movies. So I do like Abominable. That's a really good one with Matt McCoy. Abominable might be a little bit above this, but There's been a lot of found footage Bigfoot movies. This is a lot better than Willow Creek, or whatever the fuck that was, by Bobcat Goldthwait, when nothing happened, but literally a 20-minute scene where they're in a tent, and then they're in a tent. And people think this is fucking boring? No, Willow Creek was boring. Piss in a Creek would be more exciting. And Bigfoot County, that's one of the worst found footage films ever, in my opinion. Yeah, this one, that was a pretty good gem of a flick. Number 3, another gem, As Above, So Below. I actually saw this, the first time I saw this was with my friend Mike OCP, and we were both surprised by it. We were both kind of blown away by how good this was. Again, a film that got bad reviews. I don't understand why. Yet Paranormal Activity got fucking whatever. Fuck Paranormal Activity. I thought this one had an interesting story. I love being in the Paris underground catacombs, which is a real thing where you have actual skulls and bones littered across there. I like that it's sort of a Tomb Raider horror film mixed in with a found footage. They're going in for this. The lead person, her father was a explorer, so she wants to be her father. They want to find, I forget what the hell it was called, but a certain piece of treasure, artifact, and treasure as well that's linked in with the underground catacombs in Paris. And they get some people to help them journey there, and strange things starts happening. And it's one of those things that deals with your hidden fears or your hidden guilt that can come up and attack you or battle you. So are you willing to forgive yourself? Add some nice visceral sequences. The sort of adventure aspect I appreciated. It does. It's like a horror adventure movie. And I thought the ending, I thought was pretty clever. How the title is invoked at the end, As Above, So Below. Like the way this looks, that actually does kind of come into play with the ending of the film. The ending was satisfying. It wasn't a typical bullshit found footage ending. I thought the actors did fine in their roles. I liked, I definitely liked this guy who sort of used to be boyfriends with her, and he comes along for the ride even though he doesn't want to, but he's kind of forced into it. I thought this was a pretty good one. Never understood the hate for it. Number 2 would be The Tunnel. This is a film that was made and released for free on torrents. First film produced under the 135K project, raising its budget by selling each individual frame on the internet. And yeah, this is uploaded for free for anyone to see on torrents and things of that nature. So you probably find this for free on YouTube. But I enjoyed it so much I bought this 2-disc, which has a making of, features, behind the scenes. The Tunnel, it's like a fake documentary because it's footage mixed in with people being interviewed. This is like a good version of Curse of the Blair Witch. If you don't remember when this film came out, on Sci-Fi Channel it was Curse of the Blair Witch, which I enjoyed at the time, but it's not something I would go back and rewatch. And that was originally how this film was going to be done, in that format, with people being interviewed mixed in with the footage. Then they just went with the footage entirely. And this time what they do here is that people who survived the incident, they give their thoughts and opinions. So people are like, oh, well, doesn't that ruin the suspense? But I thought it was a nice different take on it. Because it's like, oh shit, we know something's coming. And then if something's peculiar, I'll go back to these individuals and give their insight. Okay, so that's what they were thinking. Okay, so that's why they were doing this. Okay, I'm kind of understanding with them, and it's like watching a creepy documentary. I thought the acting was great. I especially enjoyed this guy who's the cameraman. His name is Steve Davis. I thought he was excellent in this. He was not an actor. He was an actual cameraman. He did a fantastic job with this. I think this was filmed in Australia, yeah, in Sydney. Underground train tunnels, great atmosphere in there. Really good atmosphere. I thought the characters worked well. I thought had some creepy sequences, especially when you kind of see the creature. It's sort of, I don't know, made me think of Chud. Not the look of the creature, but how homeless people are missing and they're being taken. It takes place underground in these sewers and these tunnels. And I think like the original idea of Chud, where it was people who changed a little bit. But you see like one figure rise from the water. Look like one person's like has no eyes, and something comes behind it and slowly twists his head around. And like you can barely see it, which makes it a little bit creepier. I thought it utilized the suspense very well, and it had some likable characters. Uh, I get like a lot. One of the common things I realized, I want a satisfying ending, which I know is not always going to be the case, but like 10% of them do a different type of ending. And this right here is probably the 10% that I have right here. They do at least some of them. Like this one, As Above, So Below exists. They do a different type of ending. And I appreciate that. Tunnel, really enjoyed it. Gem, underrated gem of a movie. And number one is The Blair Witch Project. Saw this back in the day on VHS tape. Didn't see it in theaters. Didn't even know it came in the theaters. Well, I knew, but it wasn't around where I was at. But I didn't know anything of the hype because where I was at, we didn't really have much for internet. People at school never talked about movies unless it's a new Adam Sandler film, but they never talked about films. I was the only guy who really got into films, so and no one wanted to talk about anything. Hell, when I mentioned, oh, there's a Tremors too, they didn't believe me. They're like, yeah, right. And then they didn't care. So that's how people at school didn't know shit about movies. So I would research movies, and I saw like a TV spot. I'm like, what is this? Because by this point, I never saw anything remotely of a found footage. I wouldn't even know what the hell a found footage was. I'm like, okay, this is different. What's this about? Got the VHS tape, popped it in, and I watched it. I went, and I will admit, this is one of the only times I can remember where I was watching a film and when it got to the third act, my heart's like, what the fuck? It was chilling. Because what this movie at the time did for me, and I reviewed this from like over an hour on my channel years ago. So it's much more in-depth review on my channel. It did like years ago. That's why I hated the Blair Witch 2016 so much. Because I love this film a lot. And I got obsessed. I got the shot glasses. I got the diary. I got the comic book. I got the t-shirt, which has the missing kids on there. It's like a missing poster t-shirt, which it doesn't fit anymore. Because again, that was 99. I just realized this is 20 years old. I didn't even realize this is 20 years old. Why the fuck is there not a special edition of this? 20 years. Because now everyone hates it. And at the time, people who got into hype, they thought it was shitty. A lot of people nowadays think it's shitty. I don't. I think it's still, watch it today, it's still, of the found footage films, it felt the most real. That's the best way to put it. It feels the most realistic. People do dumb things out in the woods. People, when they get angry and mad and tired and hungry, they do stupid things, like kicking the map away. It doesn't sugarcoat and feed you that it's a supernatural, but you can get that because they're going the same spot, and like they keep going one direction, but they keep coming back to the same spot. It didn't need to feed us, hey, this is supernatural. You could go either direction with it. And minimalism used effectively with the creepy woods, the atmosphere, the usage of sounds. I think the three actors did a fantastic job, and it felt real. That's the thing. It's not really performances because they seem real. And the ending, it didn't bother me because I always put it in the fact that this is like you go to a cabin and you find a book and you read it like a diary, and you know from page one this is the last moments of these characters' lives. And it just, people say it's so easy to do a found footage film, but look how many found footage films have been made, and look how many of them are shitty. The Devil Inside, the Paranormal Activity films, Apollo 18, the Moon Rocks. This shows that it's not as easy as you think. There's lightning in a bottle. And there's been ones I've also enjoyed. And I know there was another film that came out and they said these guys ripped them off. What the fuck was it called again? The Last Broadcast. Fuck The Last Broadcast. That would also be my top 10 worst because that's a boring fucking film. That's a mixture of interviews and footage that's done poorly. Like, this is how you do that well. Like, this is like The Last Broadcast type of style. This is how you do it well. Last Broadcast is how you do it terribly. So I shouldn't have said a better version of Twisted Blair Witch. I should have said a better version of The Last Broadcast. That's what this is. And this one, there were found footage films before it. Man Bites Dog, which I haven't seen but I've heard of. 84 Charlie MoPic, which I liked. That was 1989. But this really jump-started it. It's funny, people say Paranormal Activity did it. No, this film did it. I think this film kissed the shit out of Paranormal Activity. Creep factor, atmosphere, acting, characters, the legend of the Blair Witch. This film deserves a lot more. It deserves a special edition, a full-length documentary. I like Pet Sematary from 1989, but if that can get a fucking documentary that's full-length, this should get a documentary that's full-length. It's the 20th anniversary, and nothing's being done for this. This bullshit. It makes me want to do something for the 20th anniversary. I don't know what, though, I could do. Anyway. It makes me want to watch and review these again, but some of these I've reviewed and be like, nah, that's okay. But if you want to hear more of my thoughts, I talked about it for like an hour years ago. Just type in Blair Witch Rambo Afterlife up there. Or go to my channel, go to the magnifying glass and type in Blair Witch. And the sequel to this, both of them can suck my dicks. Dicks as in plural? Yes. I will grow another dick just so that both of those sequels can suck my dicks. The Blair Witch Book of Shadows and Blair Beach, Dead in the Ditch. So, just a recap. Number 1, Blair Witch Project. Number 2, The Tunnel. Number 3, As Above, So Below. Number 4, Exists. Number 5, Digging Up the Marrow. Number 6, Cloverfield. Number 7, Afflicted. Number 8, VHS 2. Number 9, Chronicle. And number 10, the St. Francisville Experiment. Thanks for watching. Take care. And we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.